Hi, welcome back. Today's date is Thursday, June 26th, 11:36 in the morning. I've been busy already this morning, evidence. I literally just wrapped a private lesson. My student walked out the door like 5 minutes ago and I just picked up the camera, set it up and started rolling. I figured I'd ride this momentum before I crash and get started on my own lesson. Progress check, we are on day 4 of getting better at pottery fast in under 1 week. Working from this 73-page guidebook authored by Jingdezhen porcelain master Zhan Shaolin. So far, we've covered wedging, both ram's head and spiral, centering, and Master John's 5-step method for throwing off the hump, up to and including pulling. Everything from this point forward, all the fun shapes we'll learn to throw will utilize and build upon those fundamentals. Which brings us to today's lecture. Application of the 5-step method in throwing linear vessels. Exciting. Let's take it to the wheel. Doulibei. Linear, straight-walled vessels. Among daily utensils, linear vessels include L-shaped forms such as water cups and V-shaped forms such as doulibei. The doulibei features an open mouth, 45-degree oblique walls, a small foot ring, and an overall shape reminiscent of an inverted bamboo hat. The doulibei is minimalist in design, taking an elegant and simple shape to the extreme. My mom picked up this tiny doulibei at a street market in Jingdezhen last year. It's the best example of one that I have on hand. You can see the inverted triangle shape, the small foot ring, and the 45-ish degree angle of the wall. It looks quite simple, but I have a feeling that this angle is quite hard to get right. You know the drill. First, we center. After that, I'll slow things back down and we can walk through the 5 steps, this time modified to throw the doulibei. I'm actually using a different porcelain clay body today. I'm less familiar with this, so I imagine there's gonna be a little bit of adjusting that I'll need to do. All right, we've got this hump nice and centered. To make a cup that's as small as the doulibei, you really only need a small amount of clay, naturally. Just like yesterday, I'm going in with my palms up, isolating the amount of clay that I'm gonna use for the cup. On to step 2, pressing that top portion into a flattened disc. Another way to think of the shape you want at this stage is an inverted ba, wider at the top than at the bottom. Step 3, as you know by now, is opening and expanding the bottom. The doulibei has a narrow bottom and a wide flared mouth, so it's important to preserve that contrast. If I open the bottom too much at this stage, I risk losing the proportions that define the form. After the blank is opened, pull the clay up to form a simple upright shape. It looks like I'm to proceed with the classic U-shaped pull we covered in yesterday's lecture, and from there, we modify the U-shape into the V-shape we want in the end. Even though the final shape is quite open, we start mostly upright. Let's try it. That didn't go well. I don't even have a needle tool. How do you do this? Ooh. I'm gonna try not to be too embarrassed about that pull. Shape the lines of the doulibei with the help of a tool. Hold the tool with your right hand and place your left hand in the inner wall of the vessel. Expand outwards from top to bottom at a uniform speed. It is best to move slowly, otherwise the shape may collapse. This is pretty much all I'm working with. It's a very high-tech tool. It's a popsicle stick. I think it'll work just fine. Expanding gently, letting the walls stretch outward. It's very satisfying seeing the clay meet the popsicle stick and the slip getting scraped off the outside. Checking the angle and shape so far. I think it's important not to rush. Even though the goal is a wide mouth, it's better to do so gradually and in a few passes. You can always expand more, but if you stretch things too far, you're gonna have trouble reining it back in. I think I'm reaching that point. If there's water at the bottom of the cup, use a sponge to absorb the water, otherwise the bottom will easily crack when drying. I think we're good on that front. Remove the finished cup. Put the index finger and middle finger of the right hand together and stand it upright. Be careful not to pull upward or the bottom will deform. Can't say I'm very satisfied with how that went. Things started going sideways when I did my pull, but that's okay. I'm gonna put this aside and keep practicing. A very tiny amount of clay, even smaller than last time. What is going on with me today? That was... Yeah, that was okay. Oh, my hand is shaking. It's like when you're trying to draw a straight line, your hand starts going crazy. Visually comparing that angle overlaid on top. Close. Rim. That's another one. Well, that one wasn't too bad. I'm gonna practice that a few more times now. Maybe it was not a good idea to start my lesson right after teaching because I am tired. I don't want that to come off as an excuse. The reality is I'm not gonna feel happy and perky and awake every day, but if I wanna get better, then I'm gonna at least have to be consistent. I believe in listening to your body, taking rests when you need it, but I think I also need to work on holding myself accountable for my own education and my own improvement. A little wonky, but it's still standing. I like this one so far. Oh no, I bumped it. I think I'm messing with the shape too much and I need to stop or else it's gonna collapse. I think that's that for this one. I really thought doulibei was gonna be easy. They're quite unassuming, but they're really throwing me for a loop. What do you think? Ta-da! Once this shrinks, I could see it becoming more or less this size. Looking cute. I think this one's my best one so far. Good job. I'm starting to feel my stomach grumble, so I think I need to take a break and I'll come back to this once I've eaten something. Okay, I'm back. I'm fed. Feeling much better and less lightheaded. While I was eating, I searched up some reference images of doulibei and I did some sketches. This one here is the classic we've been going for, 45 degrees, it's described in the book. But I also saw some that were like ultra wide. I also saw some variations with slightly curved profiles. This one is like partially curved. And then I also saw some flared mouths. I'm not someone who uses doulibei frequently, so it was really helpful to see what kinds of doulibei are out there. What I'm gonna do is attempt to replicate this doulibei that I made before my break. I don't expect to be able to make an exact copy, so as long as it's in the ballpark. And after that, I'm gonna try my hand at least some of the variations that I sketched. In Jingdezhen, I would get to see production potters creating like hundreds of the same exact pot over and over again. They would throw each piece in like under a minute and they would be virtually identical. I'm already not sure if this is the right amount of clay, but let's try it. Okay, well, it's a little big. I'll give it to myself. The shape looks pretty good, but the scale is off. Way less clay than I think I need. Size-wise, this is more like the target. I think I'm gonna try to do some of those variations. I'm gonna go for the one with a slightly rounded profile. It's starting to look like my sketch. I almost fell. It's pretty cute. I could have opened it up a little more actually, but a good attempt. Which one shall I try this time? The ultra wide one will be good practice. The angle of this one is closer to, I'd say 30 degrees from horizontal. That is a wide cup if I ever did see one. Okay. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This will be my 10th. Maybe I can combine two of the shapes, the partially rounded and the flared. With flaring lips, it's best done at the very end. Resist the temptation to flare that lip out too early. Oh, that's pretty. That's our last doulibei for now. We gotta move on. I'm gonna put this on the shelf. I'm gonna move all of these to the shelf as well to make room for the next exercise. I don't want to say that this clay is difficult to work with. I'm just not used to it. So I think that's an added challenge on top of everything I'm already learning and doing for the first time. I've thrown in this curveball of a new clay body. Alrighty, The shuibei is created through the L-shaped pull. The L shape is one of the most basic upright forms. Learning to throw it well will lay a solid foundation for the production of various vessels in the future. I mentioned this earlier in the week, but I am familiar with many, not all, but many of the techniques shown in this book because I was a student at Master Zhan's last summer. L-shaped pulls were one of the skills I got to practice a lot. The resulting shape, a tall vertical cylinder, is called zhitong in Chinese. My personal best was 15 centimeters tall, which I still haven't beat, but today's goal is not to beat my personal record. I just want to focus on throwing the cleanest cylinders I possibly can, and I'm gonna go back to retrieving an average amount of clay. We are approaching the pull. In this style of pulling, the hand hooks the clay at the bottom of the blank like a harpoon. So rather than pulling upward right away, we hook into the clay at the base, then drag it outward and slightly downward to create a horizontal level floor. Once we've got that horizontal floor, we turn the corner, rotating your wrist and shifting the angle to go straight upward. Base, corner, and wall, all in one continuous motion. Use your tool to adjust the silhouette of the vessel to make the contour more straight. I'm grabbing my rib, my popsicle stick, to quickly clean up this profile. Does anyone else really like the root beer popsicles from Trader Joe's? I've been like downing those lately. That's where this popsicle stick came from. The last step before moving is, with both hands, place a rim trimming tool on the mouth. After a few turns, the mouth edge will form regular lines. It just looks like a chamois leather. I don't have a chamois as a substitute. I think a wet paper towel will work. Fold that over itself like this. Hey, it's working pretty well. I'm gonna take this opportunity to inspect that interior angle. Oh, there was actually an air bubble in there. Is that L shape crisp and clean? Yeah, it could be better. It's there. I did have some difficulty on that pull, which you can see it's a little bit thicker here than up here. I can definitely do better. Not bad, nice. Okay, so quite a small cup. Light fix of the rim. I think that's good. That is decent. It's a little bit heavy. The walls are a bit thick, but as long as they're even. Thinner, wider, and taller on the next one. Okay, that's good, that's good. Around the corner, keep going up. Oh. I threw the base really, really thin. A mistake because it didn't have enough clay on the bottom to support the wall. The floor can't be thin because then it will collapse, and that's exactly what happened here. I'm impressed that I even made it up all the way. It is completely collapsed. So we can't be doing that. I was so focused on achieving the level of thinness I desired that I forgot that the material has its limits. I'm a little nervous because tomorrow's lesson is actually even more than today. I guess I just have to keep reminding myself that, yeah, I'm using this week to get better at pottery. I'm really knuckling down and trying to learn as much as possible, but it's not really about this week. It's about what I do next week, the week after that, and so on. Keep the base thick, don't go thin. Okay. Looks really nice outside. Might go for a walk later. Camera's running out of battery. Another one done. I am back with more clay. Every time you take a certain amount of clay, it has a maximum height that it can go to. If your pull is not quite right, you just won't be able to reach that maximum height potential. That's what I'm calling it. I'm not mad at this one. I'm not mad at all. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like pottery is like somewhere between like an art and a sport. I think this is my best cylinder today. Not necessarily my tallest, but the one that felt the best. Final cylinder of the day. Doulibei to my right, zhitong to my left. I am officially pooped out. So much for only spending 2 to 3 hours on practice every day. I far exceeded that today. If my goal was to throw perfect pieces, I definitely did not achieve that, but if my goal was practice, then I think I did. Honestly, I have like 0 thoughts in my brain right now. I can't even decide which one of these to keep or chuck, so I'm just gonna let them hang out. They all get to live another day. I think there's at least like a couple in each batch that are worth keeping. This one back here has some decent proportions. If I carve out a nice foot, I think it'll look quite nice. Just for the record, my tallest cylinder today, that's like 9 centimeters. I can't help but feel like a little deflated because I had visions of grandeur of throwing my best cylinder to date today. That did not happen, but that's really to be expected, especially considering it's been a while since I really sat down and practiced. If I'm being a little dramatic, I feel like my skills have atrophied a bit since I was in Jingdezhen, but it's okay, I can claw it back. I know I can. With more practice. That is it for day 4. We took the 5-step method and applied it to 2 essential forms, the V-shaped doulibei and the L-shaped shuibei. Forms like the doulibei really push you to train your eye, that awareness in your fingertips and in your gaze. It's actually really hard to evaluate if the angle and the shape is good, especially when it's still spinning on the wheel. The L-shaped pull, it's a tough one. It feels almost athletic, like it's a sequence of distinct movements that use some of the muscle memory of the classic pull, but it is its own beast entirely. Tomorrow we move into some even more challenging shapes. Can't wait. I'm gonna clean up off camera. Okay. Today is June 27th. It's Friday, 9:47 a.m. Bright and early. I think yesterday I fell into the trap of needing to feel like I had gotten to a certain place I wanted to go by the end of the day. On day 3, for example, I felt super good about where I got by the end of the practice that day. Yesterday, I couldn't say the same. I kind of fell into that perfectionist trap, especially with the camera on. Like, I want to show you guys something worthwhile, and yesterday I felt like I didn't get that, which is such a shame because this is the reality of what practice is like. Who's to say that me messing up isn't worthwhile and would actually teach people more than if I just did perfect pulls the whole time. I should give myself some more credit for the successful pulls I actually did make yesterday. Like, these are not bad pulls. They're not bad pulls at all. It's our last lecture on the wheel, application of the 5-step method in throwing curved vessels. It's a new day, I got a good night's sleep, had a great breakfast. I'm gonna try my best not to get discouraged today, and I'm gonna have a great practice. Common curved vessels include bowls, flower vases, and gongdaobei. The following introduces the throwing method of bowls and other curved vessels. Bowls are yet another form that are not as easy to throw as they look. I've never thrown a medium or large bowl successfully, only very small ones. I also tend to throw my bowls bulky and heavy bottomed, so today I'm gonna try to throw them with a graceful curve and with more finesse. Get comfy. My back nice and straight, remembering everything I've learned so far. I've learned so much this week, but it's gonna take a lot more repetition to get all this into my muscle memory. It's not just what I do this week, it's what I do with everything I've learned this week. That's what's actually gonna help me get better at pottery. With throwing off the hump, it almost feels like you're going in blind. You can't weigh out your lumps of clay and use that as a starting point to help ensure that your pieces are all the same. I'll know I'll have made it when I can throw the same exact piece off the hump, just by feel alone. I wonder if I'll ever get there. Oh, it's okay. We'll try again. That was good. That one felt good. Since we're trying to make a bowl today, we're gonna have to open this up. It's kind of like what we did opening up the doulibei yesterday, except this time we're going for a curve. I'm gonna try to go very gradually to give this rim ample opportunity to stretch itself out. One of the difficulties with bowls is getting the perfect inner curve. If you've ever seen demonstrations of people dropping a marble in the inside of a bowl, it should roll in a parabola super smoothly. It's actually quite difficult to get that inner curve. Like right now, now the middle is a little bit sunken. When I started to expand the shape, because the walls were thicker in some places and thinner in some places, it had an unequal effect on the walls. So gradually the walls became kind of like bumpy. What I'm trying to do is basically like cancel out those inequalities. I hope that my analysis of my pulls and like talking through my inner monologue is helpful for you guys to hear. Before I take this off the hump, I want to briefly talk about methods for compressing or tending to the rim. It's good to pay attention to the rim after your pulls and also periodically throughout the shaping process to stabilize it. One way to do so is with your 3 fingers. Your pointer rests atop the rim and these 2 come in from the sides like this. And the other method is similar. Your pointer again makes contact with the top of the rim. It comes down like a lever, and with your left hand this time, come in from the sides, like this. I maybe shouldn't have done a demo on this rim because it's barely hanging on, but just for the sake of demonstration. Let's take this off the wheel. Our first piece of the day. In order to keep things moving, I'm gonna do one more attempt at a bowl. So no matter how this one turns out, even if I fail on the pull, I've got to move on to the next part of the chapter. I think that's like a B+ pull. I forgot to read these instructions. Place the left hand on the inner wall and the right hand on the outer wall. At the same time, the right elbow rests on the thigh and the center of gravity of the body is tilted toward the right. Slowly move both hands to expand the shape as the wheel rotates. Don't be impatient when expanding the shape. You need to carefully feel the changes in the shape until you get the expected curve effect. Rushing may cause the bowl to collapse, twist, or deform. All bad things. Feels quite precarious. That's a note for next time I throw bowls. Keep the rim sturdy. Wobbly rim alert. I feel like that went from like okay to not salvageable in say goodbye to this bowl. You can see here what I mean by it's way too thin at the top. I was unsuccessful in creating a nice bowl, but I am okay with that. On to part 2 of the lecture, throwing flower vases. During my 1-month stay in Jingdezhen last year, I got pretty obsessed with throwing flower vases. They were like the ultimate test because they require you to throw tall, throw a skinny neck, and also throw a full round belly. Like if you bend a piece of paper, it naturally follows a beautiful curve based on the tensions acting upon the paper, and that's kind of the feeling I'm going for with my shapes. I'm not even sure if I can throw these anymore, but we are gonna try. Before we jump into it though, let's break down the process of throwing a vase. We start with a classic pull into a bellied shape, stopping before we get to the neck about halfway up, leaving a thick collar of clay. Then we reach in and retouch this belly because once we pull the neck, we won't be able to reach back in, so we make any necessary adjustments at this step. Once we're satisfied with the shape of the belly, we grab the collar of clay and resume the pull, pulling up and in to create the neck. Then we narrow the neck further from the outside, flaring the lip and achieving the final desired shape. I think I only really have a couple attempts at this, but we're gonna make the most of it. Retrieving a very modest amount of clay. Trying to ignore my very itchy nose. Ah, I want to itch so bad. Stopping about halfway, leaving a collar of clay. Belly. Okay, I'm satisfied with that belly. I'm going to resume the pull now. In my opinion, this is the hardest step where things tend to go wrong. Chickened out a little there, but I was running out of slip. Ooh. That twisting is getting intense. Not good. Let's start over. I'm gonna have to make this one count. This has been a wake-up call for sure, that I am even rustier than I thought I was. I can't blame myself really. Like, it took me a while to get settled into my new space, to get my wheel, to get the materials. I have to remember to be patient with myself. Okay. Pretty good starting point. I'm gonna be careful not to belly this out too much. I feel like I really need a win today. And this could be it. I'm cautiously optimistic about this one so far. Oh. That neck pull sounds so violent. Left much to be desired, but I'm going to try to fix it. Now it's just a matter of attempting to shape this nicely. Apply slip to the neck, and then 2 fingers, both hands, and you just glide on up. Squish in. That was one of the ways I learned to color, and the other way I learned was hold the neck with the mouth of the left hand like this, and use the pinky of the right hand to color in and up. As with expanding, you want to go slow and steady with coloring as well. So far, this shape is looking pretty awkward. This part's too wide. It kind of looks like this. I'm just trying to get this to a place where I'm like, that looks not ugly. Bring myself down to assess the shape of this. It can be hard to see from the sitting position. I don't know if I'm making it worse or better. I think better. I think at this point, there's little else I can do besides finish up this. I'm just gonna flare out the lip now. My memory card ran out of space. I realized like a couple minutes in that my memory card wasn't writing anymore. So there was a little bit of shaping that went on off camera. I was having trouble figuring out how I should be shaping this earlier. What helped was thinking of the top as a mirror for the bottom, matching the slope of the neck into the lip to the slope of the neck into the shoulder. The outermost part of this rim is basically completely flat, like parallel to the surface it would sit on. Again, mirroring so that there's a sense of balance. I surprisingly really like the way it turned out. At the start, I was ready to give up on this vase because the initial pull didn't go perfectly. I really didn't think it was gonna turn out at all. I'm glad I kept going with it because it turned out more than half decent. Like honestly, I'm pretty proud of this and actually amazed that I managed to throw this on my second try. I also think that the reason I was even able to throw this today was due in no small part to the fact that I have been practicing over the past few days. My improvements in pulling have carried over to this shape and enabled me to, oh, it's thundering, and have enabled me to throw this today. So I think I deserve a pat on the back. There we go. Okay, onto our final shape. It truly feels like I am approaching the finish line of a marathon or something. I'm gonna explain what we're throwing next, which is the gongdaobei. Gongdaobei, for those who aren't familiar, are a component of Chinese tea sets. If you translate it into English, it loosely means fairness cup or justice cup. They're used to pour tea and distribute it evenly among the cups of all those gathered sharing tea together. They look like slightly bigger cups with a simple spout and usually no lid and no handle. I would love to throw a full tea set one day. That's definitely a goal of mine. This one's more straightforward than the vase for sure. So we're gonna kind of throw in between a cup and a bowl, and then we'll add the spout. That was kind of a rough pull. Where is my popsicle stick? I think it was in my throwing water when I dumped it into Reclaim yesterday. So I'm gonna have to fish around in my Reclaim bucket for it, or just eat another popsicle. Since our popsicle stick is MIA, I'm just gonna use my hands. And this is to prepare to make the spout. Making the spout, wash your hands, Press the thumb and index finger of your left hand against the outer wall of the mud to support the edge while using the index finger of your right hand to create the flow outlet. Thumb and index finger of the left hand against the outer wall and the index finger of your right hand to create the spout itself. So before this, I would use these two fingers, but the book is saying to use these two fingers, which seems doable as well. It says to repeat this several times to make the spout thinner. Set it spinning again and just fix that up. Looking good to me. Looks like he's also sculpting and pinching the spout to set it in the right shape. Just gentle dab and pat will suffice. Pretending for a moment that I actually saved this cup, I would let it dry and then go in with a wet sponge or my fingers and smooth things over. This is gonna be my last one, you guys. I think overall my pulls are more reliable now. Working with super soft clay, so you gotta be gentle. Great. Good. This is looking really nice. Giving it a nice curvature. I think I'm doing a good job of controlling the shape this time. It also helps that the initial pull was really even. It's making my life easier. I think this is ready for its spout. Give it a wipe. Lovely. Seriously? It's so cute. Oh my goodness. I really like the way this one looks. We did it, you guys. We made it to the end of lecture 4. I thought the closing passage for the chapter was really cute. This is what it reads. These objects made by throwing represent the union of heart and hand and therefore are emotional and warm creations. Throwing carries a profound connotation and itself is an extremely precious kind of wisdom. Today we covered bowls, flower vases, and gongdaobei. Isn't it amazing how much I've thrown over the past few days? Like, look at all that. We have reached the end of the hands-on portion of the book. There is one more lecture to cover. Maybe I'll get around to reading it later tonight. I'm gonna give myself some time to digest everything I've learned, clean up here, and then we'll wrap everything up with a final chapter. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow, who knows? Hey, it's September 3rd. I don't think the time is relevant anymore. Also, sorry if the audio quality is different from the rest of the video. I'm not mic'd up right now. To say it's been a while would be the understatement of the century. I'll explain where I am in a bit. But first, the last chapter of Master Zhan's book shifts from technique to more history and philosophy, tracing the evolution of wheel throwing in China from its position as a trade or craft to now an art as well, and its shift in focus from traditional Chinese aesthetics and ideals to creative expression shaped by multiculturalism. And while the context is, of course, China, I think there's something universal here, something we can all take from it, no matter your cultural background, your country of origin, your pottery tradition, even if you're not Chinese or of Chinese descent like I am. I decided it wouldn't make sense for me to summarize the whole chapter, but the quote that stood out to me the most was, "Modern ceramic artists must not only master the technique, but also be good at discovering valuable issues in contemporary culture and extracting these issues into the theme of their work. These are breakthroughs and sublimations of traditional wheel throwing skills." That to me is a reminder for all of us to think more deeply about why we do pottery and what we want to say through it, which is something I am trying to figure out for myself, for for sure. I know the framing of getting better at pottery fast is a little misleading. I hope it's obvious at this point that it was never about shortcutting. Following this book was just a framework that I could use to teach the Jingdezhen way of throwing and allowed me to rely on an actual authority, Master Zhan, to teach you all, because I am very much still a student myself. I'm just proud to be able to pass on this knowledge in the way that I can, since I benefited so much from learning it myself, and especially because I know resources for throwing off the hump can be hard to come by, and resources for throwing in this particular style of throwing off the hump are virtually impossible to come by outside of China. My hope is that these 2 videos of how to throw off the hump following this book can essentially stay evergreen on my channel and be kind of a like start here if you want to learn how to throw off the hump kind of resource. And I certainly welcome you all to follow along with it. I think you'll have a lot of fun and learn a lot along the way as well. Making this video kind of took on a life of its own. At first it was just practice, but it ended up giving me a new appetite to improve. And by the time you're watching this, I will be in Jingdezhen. I will have been in Jingdezhen for quite a long time. That's where I'm filming from. I came here not only for the first Global Pottery Bootcamp, which wrapped up successfully a couple weeks ago, but also to continue my own pottery studies. I've been potting a lot, which is why this video is so late. I'm honestly so sorry. It's been so long since I uploaded, but I will be taking you guys along with me every step of the way in the many Jingdezhen videos to come. Very excited to share what I've been up to, and bye for now. Thanks for watching.